Mind you, that Saudi always had like had a leading role in music in general, but it was this Khaliji cultural Saudi music
Yeah.
that also had an influence in Lebanon and Jordan, this Khaliji style. So when it comes to Saudi, it was this specialization. Like we knew how to do that sound really well. It's our culture. It's what we know. But as the 80s started kicking in, the 90s started kicking in, and we started having exposure of international music, whether from East or West or Europe or Africa, whatever. Uh, some people started having other perception and mixing music. And I believe that the music that we're mentioning in Jordan or Egypt is not the typical Egyptian or Jordanian music. This also, they have their own cultural signature sound. We're talking about the indie sound, the bedroom recording, the personal uh, writing a poetry and coming up with the sound, to express it. This is new to us
Yeah.
here inside.
This is the 966.
It's no secret, especially to listeners and viewers of the 966, that Saudi Arabia is going through a massive social and cultural change in recent years as the kingdom continues to open up. Artists and creators across the kingdom are discovering their potential and new audiences, and that is especially true for the music industry in Saudi Arabia. We are pleased to welcome now to the 966 Ahmed Shawli and Mostafa Fahmy from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The Jeddah,
Hi.
Saudi Arabia-based independent record label Wall of Sound, which was founded in 2018. Ahmed Shawli, co-founder of Wall of Sound, is a seasoned
Yeah.
music industry professional who has spent much of the last 2 decades in the music industry working with Rotana, Music Master, and others. Mostafa Fahmy is marketing and communications director for Wall of Sound, is a musician himself, and works on behalf of the label to promote Wall of Sound as a cultural phenomenon rather than just a brand, and has a really awesome chair. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can check it out. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the 966 today.
Thank you so much, Roshan and Richard. Really, I mean, it's so good to be here, guys. I mean, probably, since we got in touch, really, we've been, yeah. Me personally, I went through all of your, previous episodes, really, and I've been listening, and seriously, it's really good thing. So it's really, I'm personally and Wall of Sound really honored being on the episode today. Really, we're gonna have so much good things to talk
Shukran.
about. Really, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind, Ahmed. And Mustafa, thanks for being here. This is one of the great things about doing a project like the 966, because this started out, Dr. Joshua Yaffe, who was a senior analyst with the State Department, is a friend of mine. And so we had him on, and he was talking about, Iraq-Saudi relations back in the 30s and 50s. Really fascinating, talking about Ibn Saud and that sort of thing. But he said, you need to talk with Dr. Sean Foley, who's professor at Middle Tennessee University, Middle Tennessee State University, does Middle East history, cultural, and so we had Sean on the show, which Sean,
Yeah.
and then Sean says you need to talk to so on and so forth. So we have all these degrees where we keep expanding our network and our friends, and now we're here talking with you guys, and I'm excited. I mentioned this to Mustafa earlier when he was getting comfortable in his chair. This is episode 56, and typically I have some understanding of the topic, some depth. I just studied it or some experience with it. This is just going to be all brand new for me, so I'm really excited. I did want to share, and just to get it going, it struck me when I was looking at your artist list. I remember I was riding with a friend in in Riyadh in 1999, and we were driving through the city, and he said, "Oh, you got to hear this song." He was so excited about this song, and I said, "Well, what is this song?" And it was "Desert Rose" by Sting, and
Yeah.
he was so fired up because Chem Mami was in it. It featured Chem Mami, and this was a big deal. And then I listened to a lot of your artists, and it's just striking. So first of all, this is 1999. It's kind of fortunate just to have an Algerian artist on a pop song.
Yeah, that's right. And it was really weird back then. I mean, to listen to an Algerian artist. I mean, featuring a very big pop star like Sting. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is really fascinating. I mean, this is gonna give him a great push afterward, and definitely it did.
Yeah. But then every one of your artists I can listen to on Spotify. It's just a different world, and
exactly.
and you guys are right in the middle of it. But let's get you started. Mustafa mentioned the story. What is the story of Wall of Sound?
Well, from my perspective, I was approached by Ahmed about this idea. I walked into this very 70s retro studio, asked to come in by the agency that I was working in to actually propose like a marketing plan for this new studio opening up. And me and Ahmed had a 2-hour conversation. Mind you, that in the first 5 minutes, he already refused my proposal. It was way above budget, but we nonetheless, like, despite that, we actually talked for 2 hours about music, about all the posters in the studio. The studio had its own soul, it still does. So anyone who comes in was captivated by that. I wasn't an exception. And that's when we started talking, and we started talking about future visions. Ahmed shared his own vision. It was very similar to mine, given that I am a side musician, and that's how Wall of Sound actually started having a story. Ahmed had the story, but I came in to help make it more public, put it in words, try to display it in social media. Artists started, like, we were targeting artists in the first year. We never target masses. We needed to, and it was a lockdown. So the lockdown gave us a chance to produce. We had artists coming in, great artists. Started with Skeleton Crowd, came in after Aeon, and then Fulana, and then the list keeps going until we're signed to more than 15 artists now. And this is how it started. It's a new raw ground ready to be planted with all this art. I'll get a little poetic. I'm just warning you from now on, because it is very suitable for a story like ours. It also gets technical because at the end of the day, this is an industry, and businesses are involved, and this is what we're learning day to day. At the moment, we are at a phase where we're trying to put our artists out there. We're more in the industry side of things rather than the creative side of things. The creative took a life of its own. It's organic. It's running on its own now. So at the moment, we are trying to gig. We are trying to create the culture of week-to-week gig rather than mainstream seasonal musical festivals.
And Ahmed, you were a veteran, as Lucian referenced, sort of in the field, and you'd been in the music industry. Had this been germinating? Had you been thinking about this for a long time, and then the opportunity presented itself, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing music business since 2000, and I quit 2013 when I decided really, to strip down, because the whole industry back in the day, I mean, it was really, I mean, so it was a great slope for the whole music business. I mean, Spotify 2009 just like popped up and start taking everything by storm. Like, you don't need to buy any more physical format thing to listen to music. You don't have to buy vinyl, you don't have to buy cassette. But back then it was almost died. CD was in a great state of death back then, and vinyl was almost, I mean since 80s not there. So when Spotify came in, and even before Spotify, you have the iPod and Napster when end of 90s. So the whole indication saying this, the whole music business really going down and go to the physical format. So I was a little bit frustrated when this really happening, because I'm a very into the physical thing. I like collecting. I like find this, holding it in my hand, just go through the booklet, read the names, producers, and all this kind of things. Yeah, I can find online differently. And now all these music platforms, you all can find everything. The producer name, the studio, whoever working the mixing and mastering. It's a great thing. But still, I mean, reading it on the booklet, it's definitely another kind of feeling. So I said, like, probably now is the time really to jump the ship and just go find something else. So I went into pharmaceutical business, and I thought this is really stable business, paying a lot of money, and it's cool. And maybe now it's not anymore this kind of cool kid who's doing music with a long hair and just is going out to go with wearing a suit and tie, being a cool kid. But no, I didn't do that. I was the same kid who's been doing music but doing pharmaceutical. Okay, so I was like a black duck. I mean, within the whole company, and they loved it because they're like, we have this cool employee who's got a long beard and long hair and is wearing black all the time. We a very diverse kind of establishment, and they love to play this kind of things, And I was like, you know what? If it's working to my favor, then it's great. I'm cool with this thing.
So you were bringing up the cool element at the
I was very kind
pharmaceutical.
of revolution into this and the pharma things. I mean, and everyone was really happy about it because I have a, like, you know, kind of extreme metal band, and developed the whole idea, this, you know, working in a very strict kind of a business, but at the same time you have this like nocturnal kind of life, you know, playing with a band, writing dark music. So they love this kind of, you know, having this two clashes side together. I mean, it was really interesting to them, and it was really nice to be honest. I mean, it was a cool thing. But then suddenly, I mean, in 2019, I felt like, you know what, probably I'm really wasting my life. Yeah, good money is cool thing, good industry and everything, but then I'm losing my soul. I've been always loving music. I've been listening to music all day, and I've been watching and observing the local scene is really growing in a very interesting way, and the whole country is opening up. So I said, maybe now it's time to go back and invest something, uh, and try to bring all these kids together and try to really put them in the right direction. So this is where Wall of Sound idea came out, and definitely we have the other co-founder Ayman, who's been there with me from the first day, but he's more into technical side, the studio and recording and building the studio thing, and I'm more leaning to the industry thing itself. So we came up with Wall of Sound, and then we approached Mostafa, and yeah, all the puzzles come together, and alhamdulillah, I mean, since 2020, like I say, October 2020, things are really growing in a very interesting way.
So what was so you said you had your band, you had your extreme metal band. Where
Yeah.
you know, what was the environment? I mean, if you wanted to play, where would you play? This was back, you know, when, you know, in, let's say, in 2015 or 2014.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I mean, when I quit in 2013, I was a little bit, I distanced myself from the whole thing. I was really focused in doing pharma, you know. I came to be a really successful business guy when it comes to pharmaceuticals. So I was spending most of the time, but let's say, I mean, the whole thing is when music really started, and gigging and doing concerts and metal and rock music back in the day, and start like probably 2001, 2002, things were really fine. I mean, we're doing our live shows, but it was more like an underground. Even outside in Europe, when you go doing metal and rock back in the day, it was always almost underground, because it was difficult kind of music. Not everyone can really get into it. It's not that easy to digest or really understand what the message behind it. So we were doing it mostly underground. But to be honest, we were performing and things were fine, but it wasn't really public shows. It was more like an underground. But bands were there. I mean, if I say like 2002, 2001, probably we were like almost 15, 20 bands out there. I mean, it's not that easy number, to be honest.
It's been interesting in our conversations with people in the artists or in the industry in Saudi, and everyone always talks about how things have changed since Vision 2030 in 2016 and in the recent period. And something they always point out is that, look, these artists, musicians, artists, comedians, they were all there. You know, they were all there, and this now it's just been an opportunity to come forward. And so when you established Wall of Sound and you started looking for artists, what was your experience? And was it, you know, were people just ecstatic and happy to see that, you know, that you were there, or did you have difficulty finding artists?
Absolutely, it wasn't difficult at all, to be honest. I mean, since day one, when we decided to open, up Wall of Sound and going really public, it was kind of cool, really, to approach bands with the things that we want really to put out there, and they were very excited to be part of it. I mean, from day one, everyone really showed very great interest. Really didn't make anything difficult to us, me and Mustafa, and when we start working on selecting artists, which one is fit, which one is not fit, which one got a cool sound, which one is really fitting Wall of Sound identity. When we found those bands and we approached them, it was really fine, because they were like felt how genuine is the message. They felt how really we want really to support him and deliver their sound out there. Because we always, when we come with a band and we always want to talk about music, we always put the priority is music, and then everything comes else, money, industry, whatever you want to count, but music, then 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 music, and then everything comes everything comes in number 10, number 11. It doesn't matter. But really, it's all about music when it comes to Wall of Sound. Very simple. And Mostafa can definitely elaborate on this, how we approach band and how me and Mostafa just like went of, Mostafa, go find a good band and I'll go find a good band and let's see which band we have chosen and how it goes. And it went crazy, really.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, Mostafa, but the range of artists is pretty astounding. I mean, and someone like Idrisi, that's a certain type of music. So someone like Death Noise Frequency is an entirely different type.
Oh,
of music.
I love this. All right, I will tell you a secret. Death Noise Frequency is my band.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't know?
No,
I didn't know that was your
an
band.
inside joke.
awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to hide this
Ahmed's
information.
band.
I was like, out of all bands, have this Noise Frequency. That's amazing.
Well, it's interesting too because Idrisi's Jordanian. I mean, you're drawing artists from the region, right?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. Mostafa can go with this.
As you mentioned earlier, I think the range that you have noticed on how the variety of artists that we came in, I think it was as mentioned by Ahmed. You go out there, find an artist. I go out there, find an artist, and then let's meet next week and see what we found. And we didn't even put any guidelines on genre, on style, on whatever, or whether it's Western or sang in Arabic or in English. It didn't matter. All we said, me and Ahmed, is make sure it's unique. That's all. Yeah, and that actually, this kind of spirit brought in a lot of fresh music that appealed to a lot of artists regionally, and as we started releasing and as the music industry started noticing what we're doing, we began being approached by regional artists who think themselves as unique, and the result of that is definitely one of the most unique sounds ever, Idrisi.
So who's the lead on production? So when a group comes in, and I'm always fascinated because a group comes in and then they walk out of the studio with a nice finished polished sound of some sort. Who's in the studio running production for each of these groups, or do they all have different producers, or how does it work?
So I mean, Ayman as the co-founder is the sound engineer. So usually he's taking care of all recordings and all this. Sounds matter. It's usually Ayman is taking care of this when it comes to the studio. Yeah, but then we have case by case. Sometimes we do it at the studio, sometimes we do it outside. Some do our mixing in the studio, sometimes we do it outside. So it depends on my case, how we approach it and how we tackle this. But there's no nothing standard. We're doing it. Yeah. But then we have our studio. Then we have our studio. This is one of the cool things that us as a record. It's not that very common to find a record label and a studio at the same time. I'm operating under the same umbrella. So what is really interesting in us that we have a record label and at the same time have our studio who's supporting the record label and recording our artists. So we don't have to spend much fees on this because usually outside you pay advance payment to give the artist a money to go and record and come back with a recording. We don't do this. We have our studio, so you come and record and the facility is yours. You can use it to come up with a recording.
It sounds like Ahmed, you appreciate this. It sounds a little bit like a hippie commune, and I say this because in reading one of the points, Wall of Sound is an independent record label. We often do business on little more than a handshake and a profit split contract. In Wall of Sound, we rarely demand any measure of creative control over artists, bands, musicians. We don't lock artists, bands, musicians in long-term multi-album contracts.
That's right.
So the hippie commune in the best sense. That's got to be attractive to artists, especially new artists.
Absolutely. As Mostafa said, we don't put a certain genre that we stick to it, but as again Mostafa said, it should be a unique and different. We don't like recycling the same kind of sound because recycling some kind of sound, you don't need me. It's out in the market there. You can put yourself in the market, but we really need to upcome with something different and something sounds different. So probably one of our criteria is always the edgy kind of sound. We like something edgy. We like something that's really pushing you. I mean, you feel like you sit. You know, we don't like listeners to sit like leaning back on their chair and listening to music and close their eyes and dreams. You always have to be on the edge of your seat when listening to music. This is how music should be, like on the edge of the seat, listening and feeling and focusing and go crazy. It's not, yeah, I mean, sometimes with the jazz music, with the classical music, it's good. Lo-fi, chill out music, you always can lean back and chill and close your eyes and dream. But when it comes to indie, that it's representing yourself and express your generation, express all this, whatever kind of feeling you have, it always should be, not always, but mainly it's an edge kind of feeling to us.
Yeah, it takes me to, I find a lot of reflection between what's going on right now, not in terms of music or sound, but more in terms of psychology and experience. A reflection between what's going on right now and what's been going on in late 80s, early 90s in Seattle with grunge. It's kind of like this camaraderie, this rivalry, this thing that this sound, what's going on. I want to be at the edge of my seat, as Ahmed said, rather than, like just chill and relax. No, these guys are saying something. Let's listen, It's
exactly, yes.
So who's the Saudi Kurt Cobain?
Oh, let's hope nobody.
Yeah. Well, no, not on the end. No, I'm sorry. Yes, exactly. Not the end result, but the artistry.
Oh, okay. I have a few. I don't know if I can name only one, to be honest, in terms of creativity and innovation. Oh, should I?
Well, I'd be interested in. Well, you have to be sure because you have a bunch of artists. But I mean, it was fascinating listening to your artists and I don't disagree, edge of the seat, but I have to say, I mean, is it Clinch?
Definitely one.
And then Aish is a nice song. That's not an edge of the seat song, but that's a really nice song.
It is nice. Yeah. I mean, Clinch is very reflective artist. I mean, he's an urban artist. He came out of Jeddah city, he's totally a Jeddah boy who's really delivering a great message, saying it in a very slang way. He's expressing himself in a crazy. His writing skill is very interesting. All of us been really impressed. Though the first time I met the boy, I've told him your lyrics really suck, and probably need to change it. I mean, it reminded so much me of Disney kind of writing. So I told him, no, this is not a cool thing. I feel like I'm in Disney. And then, I mean, I started accepting him, and he's really trying to change and writing. Something is really come up his heart, and something is really all his, I mean, his age, like the 21, 22, 23-year-old boys really, something come up their heart. So I think it's Clinch is doing amazing. I mean, he's one of a kind, to be honest.
Well, you laugh because you're about his lyrics because it was in Arabic, so I didn't know what he was saying, but it sounded good. He could have been saying something very Disney. But no, so I mean, you're skeleton crowd. Idrisi's, that's sort of dance and I mean and then,
I mean he's a synth pop. I mean he's going very synth pop.
Yeah, exactly. Wasted Land. I'm sure you love that, Ahmed.
Of course, yeah. Of course, it's a good one.
So, guys, you do. Oh, go ahead, Richard. Sorry.
Go ahead,
I was going to just jump
please.
in. So, my question. So, you guys do. I mean, what you guys are sort of offering, because people can record at home, they can make their own music, and they could bring it to a label or not. They could put it on the internet or not. Yeah. But you guys are really providing. A really high quality space to make that to just take it to the next level in terms of where the quality of the music that artists are recording, and then you handle marketing and stuff like that. But you also do video, audio, visual, and stuff.
That's right.
So there's so much now with music that just goes directly onto Instagram or TikTok. I mean, you guys have a really strong presence on Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that, Mostafa, especially on the marketing side? Just getting it from recording to into the market and distribution to Saudis who love social media.
Well, when it comes to music, it's when the artist comes in all the way to the artist actually finalizing a song, being mixed and mastered and ready for release. That's Ahmed's journey. It comes maybe to me after that, and it's still shared work between all of us, artist, me and Ahmed, and everybody in the team as well. There's Hood, Dalia, there's Saleh, there's Ahmed now. So basically, the label is not a classic label as it's defined in its own way, like because the industry is not really ready for that classical definition of what a label is. So yeah, the production of the music and the funding of the videos or the production, whether it's be it financial, creative, or giving some sort of a guidance for the artist, that's label. But then it goes beyond that because we need to push it beyond that as the market still rises. So yes, we do the marketing part. We try to consult artists on what to do on their own page. We try not to interfere too much, but we try to show them what is happening, what's not. And to be honest with you, we're all like in mid-age in management, and these guys are in their 20s, you know, so they would know better how to market themselves. But then the booking part comes, the PR comes, providing interviews for them. We're trying to be all intermediaries in the music industry at once until actual industry start growing, the business starts growing. So whether it's PR, we're waiting for more music PR to be out there so we can give them that task that we are not supposed to do, but we're doing it because it's the only way to put the artist out there, you know.
That's right.
So we're running faster than what a label should be doing, and we're not limiting ourselves to that. And again, it goes back to Rishad's reference of the hippie culture kind of thing, where day by day live it. And Ahmed mentioned, like, we sometimes we record in a studio, sometimes we record outside the studio. Same thing goes for marketing. Sometimes we do a big campaign, sometimes we do, again, every thinking, every thought that we do in any brainstorm, it serves the project, and the project is the single, and the single is what are the lyrics saying and how does the music sound like. It decides everything. That's the marketing subject anyway. Always think of the big idea, whether it's a product you're trying to release a campaign for, or any kind of project that you're trying to expose, even if it's a painting. What is the big idea that will actually resonate with people to actually pay attention? So we're doing whatever it takes in a nutshell.
So this is going to be it's not a question that really follows from that, because what you're saying is you're going wherever the artist takes you. You're identifying artists, and then you people that sound different, people have a particular talent and are edgy and really catch your attention. So you're taking them and you're helping them be the best that they can be. Is there so on the other end, in terms of the audience, is there a particular type of music or genre or anything that the Saudi audience now is particularly attracted to? Is there a favorite type of genre?
I'll answer some of that, and then Ahmed can elaborate on it because I believe he has a lot to say about it. Yes, we're seeing a very, very organic indie underground scene in Egypt and in Jordan. It's always been like that. Lebanon is no exception. Algeria, Morocco. There's always been this street art in music, you know? It comes from deep within the masses' concerns. It's mostly social and mostly personal, you know? So we're seeing that our Saudi artists, whenever we introduce our own artists, they always like, oh, finally, we got our own Cairo key. We got our own Jeddah. We got our own, you know? So there is this very niche attention towards that, and it's growing faster than we expect. I wouldn't say as we expect. It's growing faster as we expect. It's still new, so there's a lot of predictions to do, but we're seeing attention towards this kind of art. Whenever Cairo Key from Egypt came to Saudi, there was a big attention towards that, and many of those people who attended this concert are still not aware of our own indie scene. But those who are immediately become ecstatic, and we see them in every event whenever we do. That's right. Whether it's small event or big event, we see faces that are new, and then they're not getting older. You know, they just keep coming every week. You know, and people just show up. Ahmed can elaborate on the indie scene that's happening in Jordan and Egypt and Lebanon or whatever.
So as Mustafa exactly said, it's like we try to engrave in stone. I mean, it's not that easy, really. I mean, when we try to start releasing all the indie artists we have and the indie sound and all this edginess they have, uh, we got two problems. The sound is really different, okay, which is people not really get used to it here in Saudi Arabia. I mean, when the whole thing started, music coming up and Middle East happening and big concerts, big festivals, all the names been coming outside, all this good is internationals like a DJs, like an electronic music, pop, Justin Bieber, and all this Jason Derulo. I don't know, whatever kind of artists coming from outside. So this is what people would love to listen to. All right, this is the big names people are listening to. So when it comes to this kind of sounds that we are producing, it's totally not what not people expecting, not people what people are really seeking. So we are trying to find a new ground. You know what I mean? I'm trying to try to find a new land and put our seed and trying to see how this plan is really growing. It's not that easy, but as Mustafa said, I mean, all the indications saying people are start shifting slowly into the indie scene because it's a very honest, it's come from your heart. People really believing it. It's something it's different, it's unique. So people are really paying too much attention at the moment to it. But how fast it's growing is definitely good, but it could be much faster. But we believe in year by year, month by month, even day by day, is really going faster and faster and faster. So when we start looking outside in Egypt and Jordan, it's all for the sake of Saudi again, because we think of bringing those acts from outside, or let our people listen to those acts from outside. They're going to learn. They're going to listen to it. They're going to say like, oh, this is interesting. Why don't I do the same? Why don't we approach kind of a thing? Because in Egypt and Jordan and Lebanon, I mean, they've been doing music since like 50, 60, 70, 100 years. They went through a lot of hardship. So why don't we learn from them? We should really start from where those guys really end. So we were taking their experience and try to develop it. So all of them mingling together, see how they perform, see how they produce, and we put all these people together and put them together to see, listen, and pay attention to all of these days. Really is paying too much good thing to everyone, to the Jordanian, to the Egyptian scene, and even to the Saudi scene. It's really going forward in a very amazing way.
Mind you, that Saudi always had like had a leading role in music in general, but it was this Khaliji cultural Saudi music that also had an influence in Lebanon and Jordan, this Khaliji style. So when it comes to Saudi, it was this specialization. Like we knew how to do that sound really well. It's our culture. It's what we know. But as the 80s started kicking in, the 90s started kicking in, and we started having exposure of international music, whether from East or West or Europe or Africa, whatever, some people started having other perception and mixing music. And I believe that the music that we're mentioning in Jordan or Egypt is not the typical Egyptian or Jordanian music. This also, they have their own cultural signature sound. We're talking about the indie sound, the bedroom recording, the personal writing a poetry and coming up with the sound, to express it. This is new to us here in Saudi.
It's got to be amazing for you two and your co-founder, Ahmed, to be there at the beginning of this, because you guys are sort of talking about a community that's developing and coming together. And at some point you're going to, and I don't know in the future how far, but at some point there'll be a Saudi sound.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And you guys will have been right at the origins, right at the creation.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, this is what we're trying at the moment to do. I mean, to create some of a sonic. I mean, a signature. I mean, we want to bring this authentic kind of music, cultural kind of music, and put it out there. Now, what most of the artists are really doing. I mean, so when the whole thing's opened up, all right. I mean, the first thing that they would try to do when they come to write music is doing what they're listening to all these years. So if it's Western music, they will try to copy the Western music. If they've been doing a kind of Eastern music, they will do kind of Eastern music. They don't have their own signature yet. They don't have their own sound yet. But with time, definitely it's coming. And we can sense that. I mean, we started with an artist. They were exactly trying to copy and certain bands out in the USA and England. But after 1 year and a half, they start building their own identity, which is amazing and unbelievable. After 1 year and a half, everyone is trying to find their own way, trying to find their own selection and develop a sonic identity, which is like, whoa, this is very, very nice from everyone.
What's the Wall of Sound's capacity? In other words, you have 15 artists. Is that because
we already exceeded our capacity?
So
I'll tell you, okay, I'm gonna say something that's not professional here, but
I know what I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
so every 4 to 5 months, Ahmed comes in and is like, Mustafa, that's it until the end of 2020. That's it. We're done signing artists. Let's just focus on what we have, focus on events. I'm like, I got you back. Don't worry about it. Okay. And then like a week after that, because you have to check this artist out. I don't want to sign him. I just want you to check him out. I'm like, Ahmed, he's great. He's like, what do you think? Should we sign him? I'm like, you know what? I got your back. Let's sign him.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't. I mean,
Ahmed does what Ahmed does. You just have to support it. It always pays off. So you know what? I'm glad he changes his mind.
I mean, a good sound is a good sound. Sometimes you really, I mean, you see this a good artist, amazing sound, and you feel like, you know, if we're gonna work together differently, we're gonna do something interesting. So this is what usually is driving us. That when we say a good artist, we say like, if we done this together, definitely it's gonna be something interesting and a good results coming out. So why don't we do? I mean, if we're gonna say like, okay, we're gonna just, you know, wait another 1 year and a half or 2 years from till we have some kind of funds or to have some kind of support or whatever kind of things are not gonna be the same. So we're always like, you know what, if this one is good, let's just go with it. Fine, let's just try to go crazy without really thinking too much. Music is music, and we love music, and differently. I mean, go things ahead.
Again, the market is new and fresh. It can use more music. Why not?
And it's not going to change for you guys, because as your reputation builds, people are going to come find you, and it's just going to get worse for both of you. I predict.
We look forward to that. We look forward to
that. You know, I was looking at your lineup, and understandably, it's predominantly male. Is that correct? I mean, I think Temp Job, she's a female artist. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And is that, I get that's consistent. Are you seeing though, as you're out there and you're getting to know more and more artists, are you seeing more female artists that are sort of putting themselves forward, or is that yet to come?
Mustafa?
Well, to be honest, we bring it like we are out there. Whoever is approaching, honestly, Temp Job or also / Fulana, she's the same person. Yeah. She was when I told you earlier, me and Ahmed, like, you go find an artist, I go find an artist. It was the first week. Fulana is the one I actually stumbled upon on SoundCloud, and she was undeniably good. Ahmed came with Abdul Malik, who's undeniably good too. He's a front man of 3 bands in our lineup. Okay, see, we do that kind of thing where an artist can express himself in many different ways. They have their artistic view, but when it comes to us giving more attention to whether it's gender oriented or not, whoever comes in, if it sounds good, we actually
that's true
look at it and we put it out there. We have a female artist from Egypt, for example, Samar Tariq. She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
And Rafal is coming up as well.
Rafal is coming up actually soon. Also another brilliant, very folky indie, you know. So really, I think, is it culture or is it not? We're not in control of the gender separation. We're not in control of it, but we do take the surge in. And at the end of the day, it's music. It has no gender when I'm listening to it, you know, unless it's a female sound or a male sound. But the music is good or not. That's whatever comes in. We just filter it based on that.
Yeah.
That's got to be really interesting in your studio too. The sort of cross fertilization between artists. I mean, you said, as you mentioned, one of the singers, you know, has 3 different bands and that sort of thing. But do you find that, and for an artist to come into this community, and you know, Fulana is seeing what Clinch is doing or whatever, you know, so they you know, you get that interaction, which
absolutely
definitely. Oh yeah, it feeds it. It feeds everything. This camaraderie, this kinship, this brotherhood, sisterhood thing. We do definitely have that kind of spirit.
Yeah.
And at first we were like, oh, like happy about it and all that, but then it became real. Like, oh my God, you're family. You're all family. You know, it was poetic at first. It was just like this is how we feel it should be, but then it turned out to be that way. So
as Mostafa again saying, I mean, this is absolutely right. I mean, Wall of Sound is kind of a family, so everyone inside the family supporting each other really. So as you said, when Fulana stumble upon Clinch performing, they always go to support Clinch performing with statues of Sinking Men or Skeleton Crowd, and Anahan, Ayon, Neshmi. Everyone is supporting. I mean, everyone's. I mean, seriously. I mean, so we got this Abdul Malik as a front man of 3 bands, but at the same time, he is playing synth with one of our artists called Ayon. So everyone is backing up the others. So it's really good. I mean, it's a family thing.
What's considered a breakthrough? So in other words, do you measure, and maybe you're not looking at this, but do you measure number of downloads, or and say Idrisi gets 1.5 million for Fever Dreams or whatever? I mean, what's your benchmark for success? Do you have one? Does it matter?
No, absolutely not. Not at the moment. Not at the moment. Not at the moment. Not now. I mean, number of plays, number of clicks. This is really doesn't matter to us now. What we're trying at this stage is doing as much as releases as we can, a good and quality releases, building a good catalog, building a good heritage. Put like a production machine. What we're doing is a production machine. That's what the music industry back and not back. I mean, now Saudi Arabia is, and when it comes to indie music, artists are just releasing 1 track or 2 tracks maximum per year, which is really not very good. So we're trying to change this perspective and trying to put everyone and push everyone to release a lot of music. So we want to bring a catalog. So this is what's matter now. Then differently, I mean, the second phase is what numbers matter or does not matter. But again, I don't think real numbers are really matter. Yes, I mean, from people's point of view, when they go and check YouTube, Spotify, the other music platforms, and they see the numbers of play, it makes everyone happy. But then it's not that big deal to us. Good music and quality music, what is big deal to us?
So right now, it's all about just pushing out the music and creating the music.
That's right.
Yeah, it's more qualitative. I would add to that. So if you say what's a breakthrough, it's not something we decide, it's something we witness. And I would say the most I would actually point at to call breakthrough. There are many breakthroughs, but there's one that's undeniable. It's Al Waili in Egypt. He's a phenomenon when it comes to electronic music. He does, when we say unique, we all go to Waili. He writes in a very unique ways, very unique sounds. He uses retro Egyptian culture, and you see the breakthrough is not just they all sound great. Everybody sounds great, but for some reason, Wiley is just connecting with the masses on weekly basis. He went from 3,000 followers to 10,000 followers. He's collaborating with like premium rappers in Egypt, now getting millions of views with these guys. This is a breakthrough that we didn't really work to this is basically organic breakthroughs like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not your goal, but it's the result of what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's that's the thing. I think it's a collective of very small things that we do that builds. Suddenly you see like something shooting up, like, hey, look how that worked out, or look how it was really crowded back then, like, oh, we didn't expect to sell that much tickets, or I didn't expect these likes on this post, but then comes Wiley. I didn't expect this guy to be popular in less than a year. We always thought he's going to reach the top. He deserved it, like everybody else does. Very specific people deserve that without me even mentioning. But Wiley there's a breakthrough. Like, that's an example maybe you should look at. Exactly what I mean.
And all that reflects well on Wall of Sound. I mean, it's everybody wants a breakout artist.
Yeah, but I would definitely say not just Wall of Sound. Exactly, it's an industry thing. It's a good to see all these indie artists are breaking through, because not anymore the classical kind of pop music is dominating the charts now. Now it's this kind of an indie sound is dominating the charts. That's what we want to see. Wall of sound, not wall of sound, it doesn't matter. What's really matter is this kind of music is dominating, and this is so indie music is the new mainstream music. And we can see even in Europe now. I mean, you can see a lot of Billie Eilish is an indie musician, all
Yeah.
right? And she's, I mean, and she's a phenomenal, and she's doing a great numbers and millions of billions of everything that you can just imagine. So this is what we think it should really be.
And Jeddah, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, you know, there isn't the market really yet. You know, like I'm thinking about like if you wanted to make a lot of money in music in the United States, you could try to record something on SoundCloud because the market is there, and hopefully, you know, you get picked up because everybody just knows where to go. What you guys are sort of doing is just building this from scratch. I mean, because it's really hasn't been around that long. So you guys are sort of shaping the industry. And like you said in your interview, you know, sort of being patient, focusing on the original artist, long-term project. There's no immediate success, consistency. This just, I guess this isn't a question, but this just seems like the way to do it, right? You guys are investing in what is already there and helping to sort of germinate it and get it out there because it's original. And so that's fascinating. You know, you don't have a major scene yet, but it's coming.
There are those out there, but there's a big gap, and we're trying to like capture as much of it as possible to connect all the dots that are scattered all around.
Mm-hmm.
If that analogy makes sense.
How are people listening to music these days? Like, is radio still big in Saudi? And you know, because Saudi's spending a lot of time in cars, stuff like that. I mean, how are Saudis really listening to music? Is it the same as in the West, or is there a lot more radio listeners? Or can you guys talk a little bit about that?
I mean, we definitely wouldn't really jump into this because we don't have this big experience when it comes to radio and the frequency of people listening to the radios. But we have like a couple of how many radios we have here? Probably 4 or 5, and they're big and popular, and everyone is listening to them. So I believe, it's a bit is it popular, but how big it is, we definitely cannot say it's as big. But yes, it's there. People listening to it, and big applause to these people. Really, they are supporting indie music, and they love indie music. Really, I think give us a great support airing our music. So I believe, yes, I mean, it's something that people still listening to it. Yeah, but definitely not like, you know, music platforms or podcasts. I think it's not doing the same.
I think I don't want to overlay our experience on yours, but it you know, in terms of alternative music or indie music. So, for example, in my day, and you guys have referenced the 80s and the 90s in grunge rock, but a lot of these artists back in the day, that time, would tour universities and that sort of thing. You know, they'd be out on the road all the time, and that's how they build their audience because they weren't getting any radio play. And is there a comparable, or is there a circuit for indie artists in Saudi in order to build a sort of a following if they aren't getting radio play?
We cannot say that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying, if you're into indie, if you're really into music, there's ways to go see your favorite bands.
Yes and no. I mean, it's not. I mean, yes, you're always gonna find shows. I mean, we as Wall of Sound, we always try to put shows for our artists. Absolutely, probably on a weekly basis, probably every 2 weeks, you're gonna find your favorite indie artist. If you really love this artist under Wall of Sound, definitely gonna find him playing somewhere. All right. So we try. We believe releasing music and playing live, the two main factors of building a good career. So you have always to put a good music, and you have to go and promote this music playing live, and then picked by radios or not. This, I don't think this is really, I mean, the point here, but we think playing live, a lot of live, and in small cities, small crowds, anywhere, any place, it's always good for you. In front of 10 people, in front of 50, 100, doesn't matter. Just go out and keep playing, because this is what I think it will take you to the second phase. Just keep playing live.
I can give an example of that. The last time Clinch was in Jeddah, we wanted to do a gig in Jeddah, and I was supporting him as a sessionist in guitar. And I sometimes, from time to time, I try to help the guys, whoever needs guitar. So this event, it actually didn't sell anything until the night before. It only sold 20 tickets, you know, and we've been waiting for this night. Clinch was finally have the time to actually do a gig and all that. And it kind of got to us, you know, like, we just gonna be like us jamming in a studio, you know. But then people started showing up at the door. They weren't the hundreds that we were expecting, but then there were a bunch of few that engaged really well. For me, it was the best gig I ever had in terms of how fun it was. So this is what we're really looking for the artists to actually get acquainted with the stage, despite who's there or who's not. So this is the phase, I think, that maybe if you want to compare it to the grunge scene where they can tour, they can go out there, there's the radio. Yes, there are the music apps on one hand, and then there are these gigs that no matter what, it doesn't matter if you're playing to one person or not, be on stage as much as you can, because it's a rare opportunity at the moment until we actually make it regular. And we're working on a plan to actually make it regular by having our own wall sound sessions, which did really well, I believe, relatively, where we just had free registry for people to come in and check our artists every week, Monday nights, you know, similar to Tiny Disc kind of format, you know. That's awesome. It went really well, and we called it season 1. And now we're actually working on season 2, trying to monetize it and create the culture from scratch in that sense.
So speaking of big music festivals like the Wallace Sound, you know, Monday nights, but no, there's something like Soundstorm, MDL Beast. I mean, they're doing their 3rd one this December. I mean, those are huge affairs. A lot of foreign artists as well as others. I mean, does that sort of lift the scene, or is it good for everybody?
Most definitely, I would say. Music is music, and at the end of the day, people come to have fun and enjoy their time in a weekend. You know, this is really the industry. Like that's what Ahmed was saying earlier. It's about the family. It's about having fun, and this is what we want. At the end of the day, they come to the studio and they became family, not because they want to create careers. They want to have fun. We want music to be a part of our culture. And indie music to be a part of the culture. So definitely what Soundstorm is doing with Middle Beast or XP, who are more into the business side of things, Middle Beast, XP is more into the business side of things. They are trying to create this industry from scratch, trying to create a sustainable environment and an ecosystem for artists. And having these mainstream big festivals, you know, in that loud tone, is a big statement that all of us can feed off.
Yeah.
I used a bad analogy when I said Kurt Cobain. I was thinking I was
joking.
No, I'm just kidding you. No, but I'm going to use another bad analogy, and I want you guys to pick the good part of it. So the Kurt Cobain, the Nirvana grunge scene, you know, the artistry of it. Yeah. You guys remind me a little bit of the Summer of Love, and I say that because. Setting aside all the things that aren't necessarily attractive, but there's a spirit there.
Yeah,
there is a spirit of community, and we're on the cusp of something new, and you know we're all in this together, and you know let's do it for the purity of it, and you know, and the rationale, the motivations are all in the right place. It's just fun to listen to you guys because it does. That's what it reminds me a little bit of.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We are aware of it. I think because we know our music history, and because me and Ahmed came from a generation of trying to be musicians, you know, and then now that we are seeing the young people who were our age back then, we want to be to them what someone wasn't for us, you know. Mm-hmm. So we are aware of the Summer of Love, and we know how Jimi Hendrix rose to the stars, and we know all these stories. It's what we grew up listening to and trying to know, you know.
Yeah.
So seeing it happening around us, it's just funny to me. I don't know what to say about it. It's just funny that we're having this mini experience.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Again, as Mostafa was saying, I mean, seriously, people really can sense how genuine is our message. I don't want to really emphasize on this already, but seriously, it's pure message from us to everyone, to our artists, even to our people. Is what we do is really music, and what we care the most is music and the artists themselves. So whoever is working with us an artist, we always try to push forward, doing what they love and doing the way they want, but with our experience, to shape the whole experience and to put it out there in a very good way and in a representative way. So this is what we do. So the artist come with his own vision, comes with his own music and with his own thing that he wants to say, and we say, yes, this is a great message. Let's deliver it in a good way and how the market can really understand it. So I think really artists have been clicking to this, and even people when they come to our shows, they can really feel how passionate we as a Wall of Sound and artists, they want to do and put and deliver the message out on the stage. So people start really, opportunities start supporting and cheering for this, and they start showing up in every show that we try to put, because they felt it's kind of, they have to really support this kind of a movement. They have to support this kind of community. They have to support these musicians because they are trying to do something different. Richard, honestly, we are very excited because every day there's something new happening. Every day there's a new hope. Every day that we think, like, you know what, there's something new is happening. Something is opening up more and more and more, and more opportunities and more chances are coming. We always can sense that, and it's really happening. And really, the whole vision of 2030 is really happening in a very interesting way that we believe in it, and we can see that change is really happening to us.
Ahmed Shawley and Mostafa Fahmy from the Jeddah, Saudi Arabia-based independent record label Wall of Sound, which was founded in 2018. Our listeners and viewers can start by finding their stuff on Instagram at Wall of Sound SA, SA as in Saudi Arabia. Gentlemen, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Applause.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you so much. And thank you for
Roshan.
giving us the
It
time.
was amazing.
Our pleasure.
You guys, it was a treat. Thanks so much.